This is just a short little rant and piece of advice on why you shouldn't buy the latest action cameras, at least not for mountain biking. There are a few things to mention here. First of all, since a few years back, action cameras have gotten very good. My old GoPro 9 has excellent image quality and stabilization. And that goes for the competition as well, mainly the DJI Osmo Action cameras. You would think that large YouTube channels always use the latest action cameras, but you'd be surprised how old cameras are still being used today, simply because it's not that important. The latest versions are quite costly and there might be some specific function that you are interested in. But for just strapping it onto your body and ride your bike, I can promise you that there will be no or very little difference in image quality, especially after you upload your ride on YouTube, which will compress your footage. I've been looking at this camera for a while now, since it offers everything that I need. For me, there's absolutely no point of buying the Osmo Action 5 or 6. You as a viewer wouldn't notice the difference, and I don't need any of the other functions. I just need a 4:3 aspect ratio to be able to adjust the image a little bit in post. And I appreciate a 10-bit color space and a log picture profile. That makes it easier for me to match the footage between different cameras. One important factor is a high bit rate. That's the amount of data gathered per second. That's particularly important in challenging conditions, when moving fast in and out of shadows in a forest, for instance. A low bitrate can result in mushy footage with strange artifacts. Most cameras today have a high bitrate, apart from the Osmo Action 5 for some reason. In an attempt to save storage and battery life, DJI decided to rely on computational processing instead. After some criticism, I think a firmware update gave that high bitrate back for those who still needed it. I usually film in 4K and 60 frames per second to be able to slow down things if I want to. And that frame rate is something that most action cameras can do since many years. I was not looking for a new GoPro, since I've had bad experiences with the GoPro Hero 9. Reliability issues mainly. The only competitor I looked at is a 360 camera, simply because it's possible to change the field of view. That will mitigate the so-called GoPro effect. That's when the footage looks slow and the steep parts look flat. By exaggerating the field of view, the footage will look distorted, but the sense of speed and the perception of height differences will increase. I never went for a 360 camera in the end, simply because of the workflow with 360 cameras. I want to keep things as simple as possible. There is a way though to get at least a slightly larger field of view. And perhaps it can be wise to invest in the wide-angle lens. I have one on my GoPro and I also got one for my Osmo Action 4. They're not cheap and they don't do a whole lot, but I got it anyway in some sort of a compromise. The downside here though is that you cannot use ND filters to get that motion blur. It has to be added in post if you need it at all. I can live without the motion blur. I prioritize a wider view instead. Less light to the sensor will also affect the stabilization negatively, so that's also another thing to consider. Since I run a small YouTube channel, every investment I make is from a business perspective. I don't make much money at all from my bike channel, and I have a lot of camera gear, which equals to a lot of cost when adding everything together. An action camera is just an action camera. And I feel if I crash and damage it, it doesn't hurt that much. I got this for 180 euros during Black Week, and the wide-angle lens was around 90 euros I think, maybe less. I don't remember. The time it takes to pay off this camera is less than half the time than it takes with this camera. That makes sense from a business perspective, but also if I would buy it for myself outside of YouTube. Yeah, so don't buy into all these new fantastic functions that you probably will not use. Get an earlier model, there is no difference in the image that comes out from it.